See, I feel like I'm not necessarily known for my hot takes as much as the Suit Up Geeks podcast is and all those lovely people over there. But with this video, prepare for probably the biggest hot take you will ever see on my channel. Thor: Love and Thunder was once again directed by Taika Waititi after the insane success of Thor: Ragnarok, which is one of my personal favorites in the entire MCU. And Thor, of course, once again played by Hemsworth, embarks on a journey unlike anything he's ever faced. A quest for inner peace. And how does he do this? An island luxury vacation with the Guardians of the Galaxy, of course. But his retirement gets interrupted by Gorr the God Butcher, played by Bale, and Gorr is this galactic killer who seeks the extinction of the gods, which puts Thor into deep trouble, doesn't it? So Thor, of course, has to combat this threat, and he enlists the help of King Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson, one of my personal favorites, Cole, who's of course voiced by the director, and his ex-girlfriend Jane Foster, who to his surprise inexplicably wields Mjolnir, the magical hammer. Okay, so there's your summary. Now I have a question for you viewers. Are you sitting down right now? Because if you're not, you may want to sit down for this one. But as I was leaving this theater, I posted something on Twitter that pissed a lot of people off, which I don't necessarily get because it's only movies and it's subjective and what have you. But after thinking more and more about it over these past 24 hours since watching the film, I'll say it again, I think Love and Thunder is better than Ragnarok. I know, sue me. Yeah, Ragnarok is an instant classic. I love that movie to pieces, but let me tell you why I think Love and Thunder is better. Those of you who've been with me for a while and saw my big playlist of retro reviews of all the previous installments of the MCU movies before Phase 4, you guys already know that I love Thor Ragnarok. I think it's an instant classic. I think Taika Waititi certainly caught lightning in a bottle with this version of Thor, with no pun intended. Ragnarok is one of the funniest entries in the entire universe as well, which certainly gives you bonus Zack points there. But one of my biggest problems with Ragnarok is that I don't feel like there was a fair enough balance between the comedy and the heart. Ragnarok certainly seemed to love its comedy a lot more, but Love and Thunder I feel like finds that perfect balance between comedy and heart. Yes, you still get your classic Taika Waititi humor in here. Korg is absolutely hysterical in this movie. I mean, like, he just had me in stitches when he was telling all of these legends, which I think is a pretty neat idea for anybody who didn't see any of the previous Thor installments. Just have the big rock monster come in and just comedically tell the story of Thor to catch everybody up. And the comedy he plays with is really fun as well. There are some inanimate objects that are extremely jealous of a certain someone, and that just had my theater, like, rolling in the aisles. Chris Hemsworth is, of course, great in this film. Once again, the macho sense of right and wrong being played for comedy that worked so well in Ragnarok works even better here. And one thing I was extremely excited about with Thor leaving Avengers Endgame and going into the future, it was his connection to the Guardians of the Galaxy, who are amongst my favorite characters as well. And I don't want to disappoint anybody, and this is going to be a spoiler-free review. I'm going to save all of my in-depth thoughts for a live stream with a big panel of guests. But you certainly get those funny moments between Thor and the Guardians towards the beginning of this film. But, deep down, you gotta understand that this is Thor's movie, though. The Guardians have their own movie coming out next year. So while they're there, they don't really overstay their welcome as much. I did appreciate the fact that it focused more so on Thor and his overall journey. And I think Chris Hemsworth plays off of everybody else in this movie fantastically, including Tessa Thompson, once again, who is just so awesome as King Valkyrie in here. Valkyrie is such a cool character. She was one of my favorite new additions to the whole franchise coming out of Ragnarok. I wanted to see so much more of Tessa Thompson as well, and you certainly get those badass moments. Now let's talk about Natalie Portman as Jane Foster / the Mighty Thor. Coming out of those trailers and coming out of the Hall H announcement that she was going to be returning, I was extremely iffy about Jane Foster coming back. Mainly because in both the first Thor movie and Thor the Dark World, I didn't really find her character all that intriguing. And now she's suddenly wielding the hammer that made Thor so famous in the first place. I know there's a whole big story arc like this in the comics, but I was extremely skeptical going into this theater of how they were going to handle this character. and I left so pleasantly surprised. Natalie Portman is such a badass as the mighty Thor. As a lot of us youngins in this generation would say, Natalie Portman understood the assignment. She certainly got into training, she certainly got ready for this, and she killed it in these action sequences, which, by the way, these are a lot of fun as well. I think Taika Waititi's grip on directing action has gotten so much better since directing Ragnarok as well. But all these action sequences in here are extremely consistent. You can see everything clearly. There's no shaky cam to be found. And it's a very colorful looking movie, which is something else I really appreciated coming out of Ragnarok. This is something that Thor desperately needed, was the vibrancy. Because even though Kenneth Branagh directed the first two films, they just came off incredibly, dark and bleak and just not very pleasant to look at. Both these Thor movies that Taika has directed so far have come off basically just like a Saturday morning cartoon. Love and Thunder is much more of the same in terms of looks and production design, cinematography, what have you. It's really, really great. Not to mention the soundtrack in here. Some really excellent choices for music. Michael Giacchino's score, once again, is fantastic. But when you have Guns N' Roses just blaring over the PA system and Thor's about to go into fight and Welcome to the Jungle is just that just gives you that burst of adrenaline that you need watching a movie like this. Now, while the movie is extremely colorful, there is one sequence that's shot entirely in black and white. Taika Waititi got to have so much fun with this. This black and white sequence, of course, brings me to Gorr the God Butcher himself, Christian Bale, who, in my opinion, doesn't really get enough credit as one of the best actors alive. The things he does to prep for his roles is just second to none. And this is another reason why I think Love and Thunder is better than Ragnarok. It's the whole villainous arc. Yeah, Hela looks cool. Cate Blanchett was a badass. But what was her motivation? Just to get power from her brother. Pretty simplistic. Obviously, again, I'm not going to go too deep into spoilers, but Gorr's whole arc was so damn compelling. And you absolutely understood why he chose to become Gorr the God Butcher. You understood why he has hatred for the gods and all that. And not to mention, Christian Bale is fucking phenomenal in this movie. He just carries this part. He sells the menace. He is just so captivating to watch. You cannot take your eyes off this guy. And you probably also won't be able to stop comparing him to Ralph Fiennes' look as Voldemort. Except Christian Bale gets to have a nose in this case. But all the acting is absolutely fantastic in this movie. Everybody should be extremely proud of themselves. Chris Hemsworth, once again, hilarious. Christian Bale was very menacing. Tessa Thompson was awesome. Taika Waititi was absolutely hilarious. Even Russell Crowe in his short stint as Zeus. He can go very over the top sometimes, but here's I couldn't help but laugh at some of the shit he was saying. I don't think Zeus was necessarily as funny or as out there as Jeff Goldblum's Grand Master from Ragnarok, but that doesn't mean I didn't have fun watching Russell Crowe do his thing. But one of the big things about Love and Thunder that I really feel like is going to make it stand out amongst some of these other Phase 4 films, it's the heart that it brought to this character, and to characters like Jane Foster, who, like I said, I was very iffy on how they were going to present how she got her powers as the mighty Thor, and I think it really, really worked, and it was so heartbreaking. The chemistry between her and Chris Hemsworth was the best it's ever been, and it's not even close. There were points towards the end of this film where these two had me tearing up. Yeah, one of the least compelling parts of Phase 1 has me tearing up now. That's really saying something, guys. It's really coming full circle. I absolutely adored Thor: Love and Thunder. I do think that overall, it's a more consistent movie than Ragnarok, which was more centered around the comedy. This truly, truly brought the heart. Not to say Ragnarok didn't have heart with Odin's death scene and everything, but from top to bottom, what do you remember most about Ragnarok? It's a lot of the jokes. Thor: Love and Thunder, I feel like, had a more consistent balance of themes. Now, yes, a lot of people would call this inconsistent in terms of tone. I mean, that was one of my big complaints about Ragnarok, was that there were almost too many jokes, and it didn't exactly give us time to breathe and take in all the emotional stuff. And I really appreciated that about Thor: Love and Thunder, because it really gave you time to digest everything that was going on. Because, again, not to spoil anything, I'll save that for later on a live stream, but there's some heavy shit going on here. And yeah, sometimes some stuff will be played for jokes and all that, but thankfully, not all of them are, and you can absorb that as seriously as the movie wants you to. It's not to say I think Thor: Love and Thunder is a perfect movie. It certainly has some flaws. Like, the whole Russell Crowe Zeus angle really did remind me of the Gold People storyline from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I don't really think it needed to be in this movie. Like, I understand, like, why they go to Zeus and, like, the God Council and all that, but it really does feel like a Guardians Volume 2 syndrome in this case. There is a mid-credits and a post-credits scene, of course. Pay close attention to the mid-credits, because, I think that's going to play into Thor's next adventure and next big baddie that he's going to have to fight, and I'll just leave it at that for right now. But one thing that I just could not get out of my head, some of the CGI was very hit or miss for me, especially towards the beginning of this film. There is one character who looks like he was legitimately out of the Polar Express, something that Seth Rogen's character Bob made fun of in Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. It just looked incredibly fake, and I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I'm like, okay, this actor is literally being lifted up by nothing, and you just plaster another actor's face on this very fake-looking body, and you didn't really need to. But yeah, that's just a nitpick from me. I would absolutely recommend that you watch Thor Love and Thunder this weekend, especially if you're a big fan of the MCU like I am. If you're a big fan of Thor, you're really, really gonna love this one. No pun intended. I'm gonna give Thor Love and Thunder an A. 29 movies deep and the MCU is still going extremely strong. I know it's the cool thing to hate on the MCU now going into Phase 4. I know a lot of people are like, hey, where's the roadmap? Where's Phase 4 going? And I'm sitting here like, you guys are just, I don't need the answers right away. And you guys are gonna get answers at Hall H in a couple of weeks. So, yeah, expect some reactions to that. But let me know what you guys thought of Thor Love and Thunder down in the comments section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think Ragnarok is better than this movie? I'm sure a lot of you do. Regardless, I would love to discuss all of that and much more down in the comments section below, but as per the norm, don't be a about it, because I've loved creating this space to discuss all things movies and entertainment with you guys on the regular. If you guys are a new viewer, do consider smashing that subscribe button, hit that notification bell right next to it too, so that way you don't miss a second of the action. And if you enjoyed what you saw today, hit that thumbs up button as well. This is also incredibly helpful. I cannot wait to continue through this summertime. It's been incredibly busy, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. The finale of Ms. Marvel is hitting Disney Plus on Wednesday, so expect a review for that very, very soon. A lot of animated movies to talk about this month, like The Sea Beast and, yes, Paws of Fury. I will be reviewing Paws of Fury. But July 22nd, we have Jordan Peele's Nope coming out, which was one of my most anticipated of the entire year. It's gonna be a wild, wild race through the finish line through this fall season. 2022 has been a really good year for movies so far. I don't know about you. And stay tuned for my next Spoiler City live stream. We'll be talking about Thor Love and Thunder and Ms. Marvel spoilers. It's gonna be a fun time, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the ride while we're at it. So, feel free to join the party while you still can. Y'all are the best. And with all that being said, back talk, commence!